Hi, this is KM Wyland, and you're listening to the 9th episode of the Wordplay Podcast. After spending a wonderful and relaxing week on vacation in eastern Tennessee, I'm now back on the job. Millie Thornton of the travel blog Milliver's Travels asked me to write a guest post about my adventures blueberry picking at the Morris Vineyard in Charleston, Tennessee. So if you'd like a mouth-watering glimpse at one of the best moments of my summer, you can find it at Milliver's Travels, that's millivers.com/P484. This week I also finally started work on the book trailer for my forthcoming Crusade novel, Behold the Dawn. Thanks to the book's dramatic medieval setting, I've had fun choosing from a ton of great images. Hopefully, in the coming week, I'll be able to start stitching them together into a finished product. The winning Wednesday prize drawing for an autographed poster of Behold the Dawn's cover remains open until Tuesday, August 4th at 6 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time. To enter, answer this week's question. What color was the official uniform of the Knights Templars? You can submit your response using the form at the bottom of the left-hand column on my blog at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, or email it directly to me at km.wyland@ymail.com. Listeners of this podcast can also get a head start on next week's contest, which features the prize of Jonathan Sumption's fascinating book, The Age of Pilgrimage, The Medieval Journey to God. You can submit your response using the form at the bottom of the left-hand column on my blog at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, or email it directly to me at km.wyland@ymail.com. Listeners of this podcast can also get a head start on next week's contest, which features the prize of Jonathan Sumption's fascinating book, The Age of Pilgrimage, The Medieval Journey to God. To enter, answer the question, what was jongleur? Hint, look it up in a dictionary. Be sure to check the blog every week for new winners and new prizes. Until then, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or complaints, please feel free to contact me on my website at kmwyland.com or my blog at wordplay-kmwyland.blogspot.com. That said, please enjoy this week's recording, Why You Should Stick With a Story. There you are, staring at the computer, fighting the very nearly overwhelming urges to alternately smash your forehead against the keyboard, tear your hair out, and, eventually, weep inconsolably. The problem? You're 30,000 words into your latest novel, and nothing is going right. The dialogue is as flat as week-old roadkill, the characters are either staring at you with lifeless eyes, or laughing maniacally in their refusal to cooperate, and the plot that seemed so fresh and exciting only a few weeks ago is now stalled deader than an old jalopy. Obviously, you made a big mistake in never starting this story. Obviously, the best thing you could do would be to put a merciful end to its life, delete the file, and move on to a brighter future. Obvious, yes, but not necessarily true. If I had stopped every time a story became difficult, or even downright impossible, I wouldn't have a finished piece to my name. Every story has at least one moment where my eyes start to glaze, and feelings of frustration and futility roil in my stomach into nausea. I have yet to write a piece that hasn't, at one point or another, usually within the first 50 pages, made me feel like an utter phony. After all, if I were any good at this writing gig, I would know better than to run into these stone walls of stagnation, right? Shortly thereafter follows the head-banging, hair-tearing, and inconsolable weeping, and then the rationalizations that, since I'm obviously wasting my time on this story, I'd best move on as fast as I can get my cursor up to that little red X in the corner. All I can say is, thank God I didn't punch the little red X. Naturally a tad compulsive by nature, I have a hard time quitting anything once I've begun it. I'm one of those people who'd probably still be bailing out the Titanic with a bucket as it took a nosedive. As a result, I've stuck by stories even through the worst of blocks, even when they seemed impossibly hopeless. I've gritted my teeth and kept writing. And you know what? In almost every instance, I eventually wrote my way out of the rut. The story that seemed a goner was suddenly breathing again, thanks to my persistent CPR. I can't emphasize enough the importance of sticking with a story, even when it seems beyond hope. It's true that not every story will be worth continuing, but every story is worth a second chance. Feel free to give yourself a rest. Throw the clunker into the back of the closet for a while and concentrate on another project. But don't give up. Don't pull the plug. Sometimes the most difficult and seemingly worthless stories are the ones that will explode into brilliance if only you grit it out and keep hacking away at them. Allowing our impatience, frustration, and artistic insecurities to convince us we're wasting our time is far too tempting an escape. But don't give in. Don't abandon a story just because it isn't working. Stories never work in the first draft. But if we're willing to stick with it and resist the urge to let go when the going gets tough, we're likely to discover that we possess one of the most important traits of any artist: perseverance. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmwyland, that's WEILAND.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.